Hello, I am Yves Velasco, and I want to tell you the story of COVID from my heart and my own truth. This is not the truth, it's only my perspective, so you will need to complement this information with all the information that you might receive on the topic in order to get your truth. So basically, how do I understand COVID? On the 2nd of February 2020, we did a massive activation worldwide, and this activation implied to connect with all the network of the whole earth. So basically we joined all the different net and we connected all the way from Glastonbury to the pyramids of Mexico, pyramids of Giza in Egypt, and I was responsible for the activation in Glastonbury. I went there completely on my own with my family, my baby, and my husband, and basically on that day we reset together what was the worst cataclysm that was happening on Earth. So before that time, I had some viewings and access to some information about a horrific event that was coming to Earth. And basically I saw how the Earth was gonna split into two, where you can get the Pacific Ring of Fire. Basically that Pacific Ring of Fire that starts all the way from the San Andreas Fault going to the Andes was gonna split into two. As someone that I really admire has said, basically we are the neurons of the Earth, and as we are these neurons, the Earth was actually split into two. People thoughts, the unconscious thoughts that move everything in Earth basically were reflecting this reality, and this cataclysm that was a horrific one implied a horrible tsunami that was going to affect every single corner in the Earth. Every single corner was going to be affected. The waters were going to come really high, and basically the Earth was going to divide. Only the people from the center were going to be safe. Everyone else was not going to make it. Our families, our loved ones were going to perish. And I got also this information in writing, just in case I didn't understand it in my own viewings that I saw. I got it through different people in writing on how the Earth, the new Earth, was gonna look like with this cataclysm. And I also got information that UFOs or extraterrestrials were gonna save us. And I want to share my experience in regards with this because it kind of happened. It didn't happen as I expected, but it did happen. When I did this activation on the 2nd of February, I somehow have access to the 8th dimension. 8th dimension, for the people who do not know it, is a dimension of time, and this dimension is correlated and implicated with the rest of the dimensions. So it's almost like a very high dimension where the source has direct impact into this dimension. The 9th dimension is a source, so therefore they are very close, these two dimensions. And I was brought into the 8th dimension by a mix of my energy. So my heart was very connected with my head, and somehow the vehicle that I was driving was brought into this 8th dimension. At the beginning was amazing. I actually felt incredible to be able to see all the timelines and to be able to see all the possible probabilities of the humanity and how Earth was going to come together in order for this ascension process from 3D into 5D. And then, I will be very honest with you, I was very frightened. when I realized I basically was lost, I couldn't come back to my own timeline, is when I realized I was in myself, in my I am, looking for that wonderful timeline that will make the difference, not only for me, but for everyone else. So it's very interesting because I was put into a spaceship, and I was asked, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay? Do you want to leave? And I was put there with 144,000 more people around the world who have access to this information. Some people were conscious about it, some people were not even conscious about it. And the only thing I know is that in unisono, so we all together reply with the same question, the same answer. We said we wanted to leave Earth behind and the cataclysm behind. We didn't want to be with it. We didn't want to be in it. We didn't want to see our families perish, but we didn't want to be part of it. And we thought we deserved to be in a better place and to be in a better dimension. And just as everything was coming together, because as we were saying it, we almost saw in our eyes everything that was happening and everything that was coming together and all the different probabilities. As I said, we were in 8th dimension. So we realized that by doing that, we were gonna left behind a very, very important part of ourselves. So that other half, the ones that are sleeping, the ones that are suffering, the ones that haven't wake up yet, these guys represent the other half of us. They represent our darkness. They represent something really important that we need to still integrate and love. And if that was it, why the lesson was as simply as just leaving them behind? It didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. So we did recognize this together, all of us. And I remember the only thing we asked was, let it be the best thing for everyone across the whole universe. So we asked for the main best and outcome for absolutely every single being across the universe, for every plant, for every human, for every person, for every animal. We asked for the best outcome. And even if that outcome was to perish together, so be it. And we, all of us, come back. We came back, I came back into my timeline. And it was tricky to physically come back into it because, as I said, I was driving my car, and in my car I could see literally 20 different paths physically. Like my sat nav was 20 different paths, giving me the lines of 20 different ways. And it was just very, very difficult because what I was seeing in the sat nav, I was not seeing in the physicality. So I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to get back into my timeline. And that was a little bit scary. But somehow, with the help of my husband and the love that my husband has for me, he helped me to come back into this dimension, and he helped me to come back into the timeline with him. It was not a nice way. I will be very honest with you guys. I did have a little bit of a crash and an accident, but that accident needed to happen because somehow I was not here, that my body and nothing was in this dimension. I was like navigating through dimensions across different multiverses, because I also realized that one split of thing that you do different in this dimension, it creates a multiverse. So I have access to all those multiverses. So how do you come back to the right timeline where you are supposed to be is quite difficult, it's quite tricky. And the only way I did it was through love. I did it through love, through compassion, and following my heart, and with the help of someone external to me which was my husband, but following my heart to get to him, because that was also tricky. And when I come back, it's very interesting because I came back and I went through a process, through a very, very rough process, with my family and with myself, and now it's all good and my family is all happy and I am happy with them, and I'm really pleased that the process happened the way it happened. But after it, COVID was given to us. So I will want to say this: COVID is a blessing. COVID has been what we got instead of a tsunami, horrible catastrophe around the world. COVID was the only way that we can wait patiently for our loved ones, our families, people that we know, people who used to be friends and people who are still friends, to wake up. COVID is facilitating the process where people are getting in contact and in touch with themselves, with the real truth. Because guess what? As soon as we decide to come back, the guys even show us what life is really about, and this is only a game. It's a virtual reality created artificially for us to play on it. And basically, if you can understand someone really high that doesn't have, and not high because he's better, but high because he's in a different dimension to you, and that's your higher self. Your higher self is usually in 5th dimension. We are in 3rd dimension usually, but now not anymore. But I'll explain that in another video. Your higher self, the only way that he has to play this reality is through some Googles. In this case, you are an avatar. I am the avatar, and this body and this vehicle is the only way your higher self has to experience what life is about, what the physicality 3D is about. And basically everything is already packed. Everything that you are meant to do is already pulled together in the game. You really just need to play it. And what do you need to do in order to be happy in the game? Nothing. You actually need to do nothing. You just need to follow your heart. You just need to connect with yourself. You just need to think that everything you see externally and bothers you is because you need to work something internally. And the game is about learning how to be happy in this game, just like children, and how to learn how to interact with the game without any worries, and do not take the game too seriously, because the game is not serious at all. It's a game that repeats and repeats itself. However, very recently I was made aware that for the first time, this is not a game of Earth ascension. This is about an intergalactic ascension. It's the first time that everything from the up and everything from below, so all the upper and lower dimensions, will have a chance to ascend to. It will be the first time in our evolution history, and I am talking about 500 billion years, that we will ask the question at the end: what do you want to do? Where do you want to go after you die? Do you want to come back to the source and integrate and do not live and do not play the game anymore? Do you want to go to a higher dimension and play the game differently? What do you want to do? So, apologies, believing in the game is playing the game. Whatever you believe is whatever you create. So we just need to be very careful what we believe consciously and unconsciously, because this game is all about controlling the conscious and the unconscious, and the game provides you everything you think you deserve, even if it's unconsciously. So the more I reflect on how do the game give us what they give us, or the universe as you can call it, it comes all from what is in your conscious, what is in your unconscious, what is inside yourself. Everything comes from the inside. Nothing, absolutely nothing, comes from the outside. So we just need to be very careful of what we're feeling, what we're thinking, how are we embracing life, what are we thinking about ourselves, and literally shut everything out. And if you are prepared to listen to what the exterior is telling you, just listen to it to understand what that comes together for you. So how do the exterior works for you to work on you? And as I said, this is information that I just have available. I have been requested to download this information by my higher self from that higher dimension. And basically, I'm playing the game just like you and everyone else. And I'll continue downloading more and more information as much as I can. Have a wonderful, beautiful day, and let's love COVID together, because COVID has been basically resetting everything across everything. Big love to you all.